Good evening, or afternoon, or morning, or wherever time it is where you find yourselves listening to this podcast. This is the Arcade Heroes podcast, starring myself, Adam Pratt from ArcadeHeroes.com, and Sean McDermott from All Castle Games. Once again, joining me. How's it going, Sean?
Oh, it's good. How's it going, Adam?
I've been busy.
Yeah, we've been busy here too, man.
Right. So
I can hear 'em.
If there is any one that has been listening to our podcast more than once, then sorry, our apologies on not doing this in a little while. It's been very, very busy. Um,
Yeah, it's been a lot of events going on.
yeah, lots of stuff. I guess I'll throw it to you first. What have you been up to lately?
Oh man, I forgot when we did this last. We ran our annual Initial D tournament. My
How'd that
gosh,
go?
that went pretty good. We had about, I don't know, like 15 people show up,
Nice.
and we made our goals, that's fine. I mean,
Well, that's what you want to do when you're in a tournament, is you want to hit the goals.
yeah, I streamed it on Twitch. I don't know if anyone watched, but. And then I guess Twitch changed it so it doesn't record past broadcasts. So kudos to that guy, whoever decided that. So I don't have a record of it.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I was kind of relying on that too. I should have recorded it on the computer too,
Right.
but it's an old computer and
Yeah, live and learn, right?
I don't know. When I brought up the dashboard, it said 22 like by the eyeball thing. I don't know what that means. I mean,
I believe that means 22 people watching, as long as that's what you saw if you pulled that up while it was streaming.
Yeah.
That would be 22 people watching, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny that.
What is this, Mission Impossible?
We've opened at least one new location in a pizza chain, and that's been a lot of work.
Nice.
So
You're right.
And it's been very busy, so we've been
Good.
busier more than we expected. So
Well, good. Beating expectations is always a bonus in
Yeah.
the business world.
I pissed off the rival operators
Nice.
in town here, so I'm sure they're gonna have TP'd cars and whatever,
Keyed your car, slashed your tires.
I heard they were thoroughly pissed, but
Wow.
but they weren't. It wasn't even their games. It was their friends or something. It was like, I don't know.
Yeah, the idiotic things people will throw a drama fit over sometimes.
I took a trip down to round one, and over at Dave and Buster's where they had that Luigi's Mansion game down there. We'll talk about that later. And I tried to take a day off. That was a crazy idea, but I did it. And yeah, it's been pretty damn busy. And
Okay.
so how's it going over there in the game grid there?
It's been fairly busy here. Nothing I can certainly complain about. I don't know how much of it's getting picked up on the microphone here, but yeah, we've got school out right now. I think it's UEA weekend or something along those lines, where a lot of schools in the local area are out. And anytime school's out, I'm busy, so I definitely can't complain about that. And last time, close to when we did this, was the Salt Lake Comic Con. Now,
Oh, yeah,
I know
that's right.
Salt Lake is not something that necessarily shows up on the international map all the time, but the Salt Lake Comic Con, from my understanding, it's in second or third place as far as largest Comic Cons in the world go. And so it was incredibly busy, lots and lots of people, not just from Utah, but surrounding states. And so with us bringing in arcade machines there, we were the only arcade that was there. The year previous, there was another local arcade here that had joined in, but for some reason he decided not to do that this year. But I won't complain about that. That was better for us, a lot easier to handle. And it was a nightmare, though, because I did decide to take Star Wars Battle Pod there, which
You took a lot of stuff. I saw those pictures.
Yeah,
You poor guy.
It's kind of weird because I have 52 cabinets here at the arcade right now, and it felt like I took a lot more than I actually did. I only took 16 games, but
They were the big
where
ones, right?
right
Yeah.
where I had Star Wars Battle Pod, Darius Burst Another Chronicle, which that machine is takes up about as much floor space as Star Wars. The Re-Rave, which I don't have the sleeker, smaller plus version that they released a little while ago, a year or two ago, but I have the original cabinet, which was huge, big 47-inch touchscreen, no wheels on it either. Um, so those games all took up a lot of space. It was a little difficult to move because I didn't get a lot of help at first to move them. So only having 3 or 4 people to move these games, and then of course having something like Star Wars or Darius on a lift gate. I mean
Yeah, it
that
depends on
that
the
gives
lift
that
gate.
makes me nervous just thinking about it again. Yeah.
Did you take it apart or just leave it all
No,
together?
well, I'm sure Namco would recommend that I should have taken it apart. It would have taken quite a while to do that. And when we initially put it together, one of the bolts internally had busted, and so I didn't want to risk causing any more damage like that to it. So I just said, what the heck, we'll just do it like this, and it worked. I mean, getting it there to the convention center, getting it back. The only thing that happened, where I'm not sure when this happened, but one of the wheels near the seat had broke off.
The
So
wheel. What game is this? The Darius Burst?
no, Star Wars.
Oh, my bad. Okay, you said
And
Namco. I thought you were still talking about Darius Burst.
oh no, Darius versus Taito, and
Yeah, yeah, a
so
Namco game with the wheel breaking off? Nah, that never happens. No.
right. But I mean, I almost was repentant of deciding on Darius Burst just because how massive it was. I think it actually hung a little more over the edge than the Star Wars did. But again,
That's scary.
we figured it out. Used some rope tricks to help hold them on, and it worked. So can't complain. And I mean, the games were popular. They got played a lot there. Only thing that really sucked for me was that the power costs for me were astronomical. I mean, I
Really?
paid more in power for 3 days there than I pay in probably 4 or 5 months for all my games
Oh,
here.
they charge you for the power?
They nickel and dimed the snot out of it, and so it was.
Wow.
I talked to the Comic Con organizers, and they said next year we'll be better prepared so that we can save a lot more on that and won't get hit so bad. Because I mean, I did not have to pay for a booth space, so that was a huge bonus. So it was really just paying the power and then the labor of or paying for the trucks and getting the games up there.
Who'd you use for a truck now?
I just went to Penske Rental.
Yeah, they're good.
And the first truck they gave me was awesome. It was newer. It didn't use up a lot of gas. The liftgate had this nice feature where this little lip popped up so
Oh
that the
yeah,
wheels
those are
caught on it, and so
yeah.
that was really nice. But the truck that I got on Sunday to bring the games back was a lot older. The ride was really rough. The liftgate didn't have that cool feature, and so we had to use a rope to wrap it around the games as they were on the liftgate to help hold the bigger ones on as we slowly gave slack to it. It was almost like rock climbing a little bit.
Did you get
Um,
like was that a silver liftgate or a black one? Because the black ones are short. Like
they were both silver, and that was one
uh,
of the things. I got a 20-foot six,
it's a 20-foot truck. Yeah.
26-foot truck.
Oh
Sorry.
Jesus.
I'm just tripping over myself. 26-foot truck. Both came with the lift gates that were long enough because that's what I stipulated. It's like
Yeah,
I
extended
have
liftgate.
to have something with an extended lift gate because that is not going to work for what I'm hauling up there. And so yeah, so worked out. Got great exposure. I mean, I've had a lot more people coming in to play Star Wars or just to see the arcade lately.
Is it a net profit like
Yeah.
financially? Like
Yeah, overall, I won't reveal the numbers, but
you made a
yeah,
profit.
I made a profit, and
Yeah.
so that's the bonus. And then of course, it's always difficult, if not impossible, to know what sort of marketing impact you got out of that.
Yeah, I understand that. And when we go to the Midwest Gaming Classic, we can't charge for games.
Oh,
So we make a net loss, like pretty significant.
Right. And right now I actually have 3 games that I sent up to another event, much smaller event called Anime Bonsai. But all the shipping and maintenance of watching the games and whatnot are actually being handled by a local music gamer group here called Beat Gamer. And so they actually got games from Sandy Nickelcade and the Atomic Arcade, both local arcade places. And so that's just for exposure. I don't make any money off that either, but I'm not spending money on a truck, not spending time on having somebody up there to make sure the games are okay or whatever. So yeah, that's been the main thing I've been into lately.
Well, as long as you had fun and you made money, at least, I mean, that's better than we get. We have fun, but we don't get to make money.
Right. Yeah, and that was the thing. I did get to have fun being at the Comic-Con. I mean, we had a change machine up there, and there was a few times where I just went to a panel. I went to they had a lot of the Mystery Science Theater guys there. For anybody, any listener out there, assuming if you don't know who they are, they made fun of movies back in the 80s and 90s. But they had Joel Hodgson, who invented the series. They had Trace Belil, who was a major part of it, did the Crow Robot voice. That Bill Corbett, who also was involved with the show for the last 3 years, and Frank, TV's Frank. Who didn't seem very happy to be there. He seemed like he wanted to get out of there as soon as he could, but everybody else seemed gracious and nice. But I actually had 3 of them sign my Mystery Science Theater 3000 the movie DVD. Just figuring, what the heck. That's the only time I've ever had a celebrity autograph anything, but yeah, I love that show, so yeah. And I missed out on the opportunity to get Anthony Daniels to sign our Battle Pod. That was a thing where I procrastinated because I went by his posted schedule for signing stuff. Like, we did check beforehand. It's like, oh yeah, he'd be happy to do that. And then I took a piece off the Battle Pod, took it there at 6 p.m. on Saturday, and the schedule said he'd be doing signatures till 7. But right as I get there, oh nope, he just stopped doing signatures. He's done. And it's like, oh, okay. So I lost the opportunity to have my Battle Pod signed by C-3PO. So
that sucks.
Better luck next time, I guess.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah.
We should move on to the new games, and maybe you can kick us off with what you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, there's been quite a bit of news since our last podcast number 8. The biggest story, I believe, that we got traffic for on the site was the development of Point Blank X by Namco. Of course, arcade fans are familiar with Point Blank 2. There was another one, a third or a fourth one, I believe, although they just didn't get the traction that Point Blank 2 had. I'm sure you could find Point Blank 2 out there on location. But yeah, Point Blank X, as it's called right now, it is in development. I did confirm that Namco USA has one shipping to them. I talked to somebody from over at Namco Japan where they downplayed it, saying, oh, it's nothing more than a drawing on a napkin right now, but that seems to go against what was said about one being shipped over to the States. So either way, it's early in development, and the best I could find out about it, aside from the obviously not final cabinet design photo that we posted on there that Highway Games had posted, it's essentially the same thing as the original, just little mini games that are quick and fun to play, just in high definition now as opposed to running on an old CRT. And also this one reportedly is going to have a redemption component to it. So at IAAPA next month, which I will be going to, I'll see what else I can find about it, see if they have it there, or see if the redemption's optional or going to be forced.
That wouldn't be the first time Namco's done a redemption shooter or a redemption shooter. So.
Right.
And I suppose they may want to compete with Sharpshooter.
Right, which I'm sure you mentioning that's probably like, huh? What game? But yeah, that's a game I've seen at multiple trade shows. I haven't. Well, I guess I saw it at a Dave and Buster's in Florida once.
I saw 2 of them last week.
So I mean, actually, that's a decent game. I actually have footage on my YouTube of Eugene Jarvis playing it. And he seemed intrigued by it. I mean, it's fun for what it is.
I didn't play it, but I looked at it. I didn't
It's
get to
not the
play a
same.
lot of stuff. I mean, it's kind of expensive at round one, but it's a good place.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, and that's the thing that
uh,
can hinder the business in some places. Like there was a GameWorks that opened this year and they're already closed. And I didn't even get a chance to go over and check them out before they closed, but every report that I had from anybody that went up there to check them out was, man, this is way expensive
well,
because
I
it was like
think it's
$2 to
expensive.
play Crane.
I couldn't even figure. I mean, I was so confused by like how many credits I had on my card. I didn't know how much you were putting in the game. I didn't know what the credits were worth. They really got me. I mean, I usually have that stuff figured out, but
Right.
I didn't pay attention when I charged my card.
Right.
So I was like, I
Which is
think.
what they like, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, I played some UFO catchers and those are pure skill. So I cleaned out one of them,
Nice.
and watching those
Getting
videos,
killed.
I had to get the guy over there to put more in.
Right, yeah. But
Anywho,
yeah, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Point Blank X is in development. Another one that another Redemption game that's in development. Not really sure what's been going on with this one because I've only seen it at Dave and Buster's, and multiple Dave and Buster's locations have that Gridiron Blitz.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
I
I've
think
seen
is
that.
Baytech.
No, it's not Baytech. I think it might be Coastal or someone.
Coastal, really?
It's not Baytech. I'm gonna have to go back. I've seen that Let's Play, and it's definitely not Baytech. It might.
Oh, okay. See, the rumor I had heard was that it's Baytech Games.
No, it looks like it could be Coastal. I know I saw another one with the battleships, and that was Namco. You ever see that one with the balls? That's brand new too.
You mean based on the board game Battleship?
It's not licensed. It's called Sink the Ship, but it's literally Battleship with ping pong balls.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, actually, I saw that at IAPA last year.
yeah, it
It
wasn't.
was in the back, and so nobody really saw it since everybody was just paying attention to Star Wars.
Oh, we played a lot of Redemption. That's where all our money went.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the kids and the family in there, and they want the toys, and there goes your initial D money.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, um,
Yeah, that's so. Anyways, yeah, Gridiron Blitz. I mean, that looks good.
yeah, I've seen people playing it, and
I'm-
it looked like it was fun. Like, I may be wrong. It may be Baytech, but I don't think so. So,
Gotcha.
I talked to them. I talked to them last week.
And they didn't say anything about it.
No. I'm
I guess
trying
Coastal will make sense because I mean they always have something new around IAPA time. Last year was Subway Surfers, which I thought was lame, but so if this is Coastal, then that is a good improvement because I just think they were overdoing the endless runners like Temple Run, then they did Rail Rush, then Temple Run 2, and then Subway Surfers, and it's just like, guys, this is the same game. I think you can find something else out there to use, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so we got that. I don't know what you want to go into next. I mean, you want to talk about the pinball, or do you want to talk about more video? I mean, where do you want to go? We got
Well,
so many new
they're all
games.
new. There's a bunch of new stuff. So I mean, I guess we can get to pinball really quick. Of course, the big news has been the Battle of the Fantasy Games. I ran a post on Arcade Heroes, getting the best pictures I could find to compare both Game of Thrones and the Hobbit pinball with each other. Of course, that doesn't compare on a software level, sound level, and visuals and all that. Just the general layout. But Game of Thrones, I believe, is in production, and are there locations with it already? I believe
Yeah,
that's
I think there
the
are.
case.
Yeah, they're starting to
And
trickle out.
right, and then the limited editions are about to launch. I saw a video on Stern, I believe it was this morning, that showed a unique topper that they have, an
Oh.
interactive topper with a moving
Yep.
dragon and all
That was pretty neat.
and so that was a nice touch, kind of like what they were doing with they had a Kiss topper, they had a Walking Dead topper, so those are all nice.
Yeah, that
Too bad they
that that
didn't start-
dragon topper, that thing looks worth the money. Actually, it moves and stuff. It's animated. I don't know if you saw it move.
Uh-huh.
But I'm thinking about maybe going to Pinball Expo tomorrow night. I don't know.
Well, that's where there's allegedly going to unveil a lot of new games. So you've got the Jersey Jacks third game, which is being designed by Pat Lawlor, which was announced almost 2 years ago. That
Are they supposed to show that this week? I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So they actually re-uploaded the exact same video where Pat Lawler made that announcement back in January 2014 about his original non-licensed design. And so that was as to help build up the excitement again, so to speak, as to that they are going to Pinball Expo to unveil something about his game. I don't know if it's near completion or what at this point. We'll know fairly soon. And then I've also heard that Alien Pinball by Highway Pinball over in the UK, they have the Full Throttle Pinball already in production.
They're going to have three of those full throttles. There are four of them at
Right.
Expo, so that's going to be cool.
Right, and so they, from what I've heard, I don't know how big of the unveil it's going to be because they did a closed door private unveiling of Alien Pinball back in August. But yeah, so what they'll show exactly, I don't know, but they will show something. And who knows, maybe they'll also show something for the Barry Osler game that they've been working on because I know there was something beyond Alien that they were supposed to be working on.
I doubt that. But...
I know they have something in the works, but I mean, who knows?
I know Spooky was supposed to show their game, but I don't think they
Rob
are.
Zombie?
I don't think they are. I'm not. They weren't sure. They're up to the last minute. They did show the back glass.
Okay.
I mean, it looks very niche. You know, I mean, it's very.
Right.
The artwork is very, like comic. It's not really comic book. It's like horror art. You know.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's great for a house, but for me as an operator, I don't know.
Might be a little difficult. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
It's really great art. I'm not knocking it. It's for all of our locations it's inappropriate.
well, yeah, that's the thing that always has to be considered. It's like,
But they
whoa,
don't
Nelly,
care.
right. Yeah, because I mean, certain artwork packages just, yeah, you have to consider the audience and at least for operators where it's going to go into, and that's where it's like, I probably wouldn't have a Whoa Nelly pinball here, just because that just wouldn't fit. Um,
I mean, I wouldn't even consider a Will Nelly. I mean, versus this.
well, yeah, that wouldn't probably make any money anyways. So
None of them do.
right, but
It's the same problem I kind of had with Walking Dead. I mean, considering that like the pizza franchise that we have is very family oriented and
right, so it's kind of hard to put grotesque
yeah.
zombie heads.
Even like the rock games, like AC/DC and Metallica won't fly.
Right.
It's heavy.
Well, and the thing is, for me, I haven't really been sure. I mean, I wish what I could do is just test out something like Kiss or AC/DC or Metallica just to see if if my clients would play it or not. I mean, I do have some clients where they'll play anything pinball. They don't care. But still, for you to make money, you need something where people will really replay it because they like the theme, they like the way it plays, and all of that stuff. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, I've heard with pinball you have to have a lot of them, and if I don't know how many you have there, but you need like a ton before you get the hardcore players in there where you actually might making money with pinball, but
Right.
I don't think pinball is honestly it's a niche kind of thing. In some locations you can earn with it. But
yeah, like right now I have somebody that just started playing Star Trek, and my Star Trek's been doing really well. My Indiana Jones, even though it's been a pain in the butt for tech issues, it still gets a lot of play. And I actually have some people that just won't play Star Trek, and all they'll play is Indiana Jones. I have some people that all they'll play is Star Trek, the vice versa thing. So I wouldn't mind having more pinball. Not that I can fit anything else in here without selling more stuff off.
And then there's that whole they can't find the start button thing, which I've talked to I've
I
talked to
just had
Stern
that
about.
problem right now. The little girl came up and it's like, we put 2 coins in it and it didn't do anything. And it's like, well,
And I talked to Stern about that. Before we put this pinball machine in this high earning pizza place, and
uh-huh.
I wanted that gone. I wanted it to just to spit the balls out when it hits a credit. And I said, if there's any kind of way we can jury rig this, I don't care if we have to short something out or whatever. And there's no way. It's just not with the SAM system anyway.
Right.
And they said, oh, that's not a problem. We've never heard of that. And I'm like,
Oh,
where
please.
the hell have you been? All right. I mean, it's been a problem as long as I can remember.
And it's been a constant problem here, and I mean, I made a video about it.
I know you did.
Where's the start button on a pinball machine? And some people were like, really? That's a problem? It's like, well, for those of us on location where we watch this all the time, yes, it is.
It's
and
a
I think
pretty big problem.
one of the issues that I have with Stern is that they're so focused on their clients being collectors more than operators that I think that's where they're missing it. And they're not, it doesn't seem to me like they're always looking for feedback from operators or maybe honest operators. I don't know.
I was pretty mad when they gave me a 0, like this attitude about it. And
right.
Dismissive attitude. I said, well, you might as well take that redemption option and shove it where the sun don't shine. Because, I mean, it's useless. I mean, because people are programmed to think it's a skee ball machine. They put the money in, the skee balls come out,
Right.
And I told them, well, when Ice put that start button on the skee balls, on the ice balls back in the day, we had the same damn problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up well, at least with that, we could short the button closed.
Right.
But this, you can't even do that. It's like it's in the Matrix,
Right.
So I'm hoping with the SAM system being dedicated switches, maybe I can the spike system, I can switch just maybe, short short it out. So I want to see if I go to Pinball Expo. I'm not sure. I'm kind of sick of Illinois right now. I can only take a month of it, one day a month. That's about it.
Yeah. No, according to the statistics, you and thousands of other people.
It's not really the people. It's the roads and the tolls. And
I don't mean by the people. I just mean I know there's a lot of people that have been leaving Illinois for various reasons. But
yeah, okay. Well, that's the world of pinball, and yet The Hobbit has not been released, as I know.
They still are posting pictures of progress on parts. It does look like it's getting really close, because, I mean, they are showing shelves of parts for the Smaug, the Dragon, and the Barrel Riders and all that stuff, so...
Sure.
Who knows?
It'll be out in time for the remake, so don't worry.
Gotcha.
So we got, so it looks like, Raw Thrills finally released the Jurassic Park Deluxe Edition. So it shows here with the motion seat and everything.
Yes. So when they initially showed the game, they had the two versions: the Deluxe Theater non-motion, and then or I guess you shouldn't call it Deluxe, just the standard non-motion environmental cabinet, and the
It's
Deluxe.
not Deluxe.
Well, it technically is, but where they don't have a standard small version, upright version. I mean, I know there is one out there that they tested that had a cabinet similar to the standard Aliens.
Right.
But, Aliens Armageddon or Terminator Salvation. But yeah, so this one they call the Motion Deluxe.
Okay, well that makes sense. Yeah, I'm kind of in the dark on that thing. So I know it sounds like.
Well, what it is, and I've probably mentioned this on every post that I've wrote about it, is they use a system that's very similar to the Taiwanese company Enjoy Motion. With Allied Tank Attack, which actually watching somebody play that right now, they introduced a system where it uses air bladders and it has an air compressor, and so it just fills or sucks the air out of the bladders, and that moves the seat around. And so that's what they do for Jurassic Park. Now, what that's
I think
done
we talked about that last time. Yeah.
Right. It saves on cost over electrical motors quite a bit. And the motion just seems pretty much the same to me. But
is there anything else that's different about the cabinet besides the motion, or is that it?
Well, one thing is that the video that I got last year on the motion cabinets, they were not the final ones. The final ones look a lot more like the version of Jurassic Park released earlier this year, with the way that is enclosed, just with the moving seat inside. But also one thing that I'm not sure what was different in the mechanisms about it. They wouldn't tell me. But when certain dinosaurs would chase after you, like the T-Rex, it would actually have a distinct thumping shake within the seat.
Oh,
So
okay.
it felt like the dinosaur was chasing you, and that was actually very cool. So that was a bonus. Now, how they might have improved on that, because I only noticed it with the T-Rex at at IAAPA last year. Didn't notice it when the Spinosaurus or the Triceratops was chasing you. So I would imagine with almost a year development time, they probably hammered out those details. So yeah, but that's it. As far as I know, there's no Jurassic World software update to add content from Jurassic World at this point.
Uh,
But I mean, Raw Thrills is very very busy. I
Working
mean,
on a
play
secret
mechanics.
project, maybe.
Well, they've got numerous things.
Couple secret projects.
Yeah, I mean, play mechanics, they've just been knocking one game out after another, because they did Pink Panther Jewel Heist, which was released last month, I think, through ICE. They developed that through ICE. Play mechanics is essentially Raw Thrills. They're owned by Raw Thrills. Um, but they did Pink Panther Jewel Heist. They did Angry Birds Arcade for Dave and Buster's and Ice, and that's about to hit the streets for everybody else. And then I just posted this. This is the most popular post on Arcade Heroes right now. Is an eagle-eyed reader watching a video where some kid was playing a Mega Stacker. Actually noticed.
Give credit to the Arcade Warrior for
Yeah,
that video.
yeah. So they are very popular. Everybody likes to watch their videos. So I know a lot more people know who they are than they know who we are.
Probably.
It's I admit I don't really get the appeal
I
of watching people play redemption games, but
I
that's
just
just me.
I watch them. Okay, I don't know.
Well, you're a redemption guy. I don't care about redemption at all. So.
I told that arcade guy to go back and record that Ghostbusters game. I told him it was a test
Right.
game.
Well, yeah, and that's probably a video redemption game, anyways, because it had the ICE logo on there, and ICE doesn't really do video only. I know games like Doodle Jump do have an amusement only option, but their main shtick is redemption, and so that's most likely Ghostbusters Redemption. But that was a really good catch by a reader to notice that reflection like that in the
Yeah,
glass.
I mean the reflection shows play mechanics on it, right?
It shows both play mechanics and the ICE logos.
Yeah, that could be anything.
And then the way that the cabinet is designed, it looks like Go Ballistic, which ICE did years ago, where you'd throw balls at the screen. Um,
Yeah,
but
it does. Oh yeah.
I don't know how that would work as a Ghostbusters game. I would think people would want at
Oh,
least a mounted
you know
light
what? You know
gun.
what? You know what it looks like? It looks like that Robin Hood game with that control
It's
panel and that like thing.
I can't really see any controllers on top of it. One of the reflections almost look like there might be a joystick there, but it also, if you look really close, it almost looks like it does have a bin to hold something like balls in it,
Yeah,
too. So we won't know until we get more info, which we probably will. I mean, if we don't get it from somebody sneaking a video of the test, we'll find out at IAAPA most likely.
yeah. I mean, it'll be
It's just a
coming
month
soon.
away.
So
Yeah, coming soon either way. If it's Ghostbusters, I highly doubt it's gonna fail on tests. It seems unlikely, but you never know.
well, I mean,
Um,
they could totally screw up that franchise.
well, yeah, with the new movies they could, but who knows?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I found out from the same reader, he pointed out to me a Qbert game that is being tested out at a location that is known for testing out Raw Thrills games. The problem is that the picture doesn't show the Qbert game directly. It's a Fishbowl Frenzy, another redemption game, very popular one.
Hmm.
And on the left-hand side, just you can see a sliver of Qbert. I mean, it's distinctly Qbert. You know it's Qbert. It's just you can't see anything other than the side of the marquee, like a tiny sliver of the marquee and the monitor bezel. And because of that, there really wasn't anything to go on to run a story. I did reach out to Raw Thrills, but they they denied any involvement, and looking
Yeah.
at the picture, they said, "Well, we don't know anything about this." So, just
Yeah.
one thing to wait on. But to me, it looked like the cabinet was very similar to the Barrel of Monkeys cabinet. But of course, that could just be purely for testing, and they could come up with something unique. Who
Yeah, I mean,
knows?
that Ghostbusters game is not anywhere near Chicago either. I know for a fact.
Where does the Arcade Warrior film all this stuff?
I think it's out on the East Coast somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but
It's a small country, somewhere out east.
well, I mean,
Uh,
he did a video at like Niagara Falls Arcade,
mhm.
so I'm assuming it's
Well, actually, you know what? One of the lady that we did a podcast with a podcast or two ago, Sarah Zielinski, actually said, "Oh, I saw Ghostbusters at Dave and Buster's recently," but I'm guessing she didn't realize that it was a unique on-test game. So that must be where it is in the New York area. So if you're out there in the New York area listening to this podcast, New York, upper New York State, then that's maybe where you can find one. All right. Well, and then on top of that, speaking of raw thrills, we also had the story about the new potential cruising game. Now, this came from a photo from a Chuck E. Cheese event in Texas. Not sure exactly what the event was about, if it was for the franchisees of Chuck E. Cheese or who it was exactly. But either way, in the background of a photo where the photo was focusing on a Coastal Amusements redemption game called Black Hole, which, by all accounts I've heard, has been doing really well.
I played that game.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I
I
don't like
just,
that game.
again, I'm not a redemption guy, so I just walk past. But uh, but we'll take your word for it since you are the redemption guy.
Wait a minute, no, I played something different. Never mind, sorry. Sorry.
But I was gonna have a joke, but
Uh, that,
I'll stay.
the whole podcast is a joke.
Right.
Just kidding. All right.
I'm not serious about anything.
No,
Uh,
we shouldn't be.
but anyways, in the background, it was caught by the same eagle-eyed reader that caught the Ghostbusters reflection. As a game cabinet that looks very much like a Raw Thrills design. It looks like they were reusing a Cruisin' US or sorry, a Supercars Fast and Furious Supercars cabinet. And then the text on the marquee looks very much like it says Cruisin'. Now, of course, could be something else with a low resolution photo like that. You don't know.
Yeah.
But still, putting all these potential things together, it looks like Cruisin', looks like a Raw Thrills game. Eugene Jarvis owns and operates Raw Thrills. He invented Cruisin' USA. They have a good relationship with Warner Brothers, who are the owners of the Cruisin' franchise. Although I think Cruisin' might also still have something to do with Nintendo. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I was going to ask that, but it may just be because they use the hardware.
right. But
Um,
the actual game rights might still be with Warner Brothers, who had bought all the rights to the Midway games, which would also include Atari games. Um, and so, but one thing that I also was thinking of is Specular Interactive, the team out of Southern California.
they did H2
Who,
Overdrive.
yeah, they did H2 Overdrive, they did Dirty Driving, they did Batman. So they were the ones that worked directly with Warner on Batman. Their forte is racing games, and it's been a while since Batman came out. That was 2013. It's end of 2015, beginning of 2016. So very possible that this could be Specular's next game. And if they were doing Cruisin' with Raw Thrills, I'm pretty sure that would turn some heads. So we'll have to see. I did have a reader who's a fan of the racing games ask me if I've heard if this is coming to IAPA. I've not heard anything about that. The only thing I know for certain, and this is something I've not been allowed to talk about on the blog, although it seems like everybody is talking about it out there already, is Play Mechanics does have a new game that is going to be launched at IAPA called MotoGP, which is a motorcycle racing game based on the MotoGP license. It's going to have licensed tracks, licensed riders. I've also found out it's got a few other cool features, but again, I'm supposed to be on embargo from talking about those features. I'll be posting about that on Arcade Heroes in full detail as soon as I can. But that definitely will be at IAPA, and it's looking like it would be a much better game to have than Superbikes 2 would.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the realism and stuff. I am still looking at this picture of that cruising games. I'm trying to like figure out. I'm like, yeah, God damn, it does look like cruising.
Yeah, it does.
Or
And
it's some new title.
if it was a new title, it's hard to guess what it is when you're dealing with cursive, low
Well,
resolution stuff like
I know
that.
the only thing you can see is that the lights are red, white, and blue, which it means it could be some sort of police game, but
Right.
I don't know. It could be like cops
Right.
and
Well,
robbers.
yeah, I mean, you could have like police cruiser or something like that. I mean, I guess that wouldn't be
It
out
looks
of the
like a cruising
question,
game.
but yeah.
It's either that or some operator converted a newer game to be cruising, like just to be a jerk.
Just have a monstrosity Hellcade there, yeah, and just throw everybody for a loop. But who knows? Maybe if Raw Thrills saw that sort of interest in it, then they could suddenly be like, "Hey, maybe we should do cruising."
It could be RPM too. Yeah,
Right?
I don't know, man. I thought it might have been something else. I've been thinking about this since I saw that picture a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to figure it out, but
Well, that's part of the fun, I guess, is
uh,
making guesses at that.
if it
I
is
mean,
cruising, it's definitely worth buying. I don't care.
right. I mean that could be. I mean that's the thing is Fast and Furious series. To me, that's just Bing cruising. They kind of just slapped the Fast and Furious name on there because it doesn't have anything from the movies, other than the marquee and the side art say Fast and Furious, and it says that during the attract mode, but it doesn't have Paul Walker or Vin Diesel or voiceovers or anything like that. And the way
No.
the game plays is exactly like Cruisin' did. And so, but that game has out earned just about any other racer that's come up against it, even though the graphics are frankly terrible. Even with supercars, they just weren't very good.
No.
They were adequate, but it still looks like a game from 2003, 2004. Um,
Yeah, it's not the greatest.
but it's still, but despite that, it still does extremely well. And so, maybe a cruising game having that name, that is a name that people still recognize. It would be a car game, so if a younger player comes along who's never heard of cruising before, they'll see a racing game, they'll see that it's probably going to play just like cruising did. So I imagine it would do very well.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. I mean they have. I if it is cruising, that's going to be great. I'm telling you.
Right, right, and I'm sure nobody else in the industry would probably want to be going up against Cruisin' unless they had something, like if Sega was somehow able to get Daytona USA back. But
That's a tough one for them.
yes, it is. Well, the funny thing is,
They
from
made
what I am aware,
they made
a few years ago, Raw Thrills bought the rights to that, and in fact, I remember finding a page on Raw Thrills' website that said Daytona. It didn't have pictures, it had placeholders, but it was distinctly a Daytona page on their website. But that was probably 3, 4 years ago. It was, or actually maybe longer than that. It was about the time Sega Racing Classic came out.
right,
And
which is Daytona.
actually, that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean that I think they almost came out with it just to kind of snub Sega a little bit there, but it's been 6 years and they still haven't done anything with it. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. It's just this would be the first time that Raw Thrills has licensed something from the past, really. From
Oh right, from one of their own
yeah, from
from
Midway.
their own past, their Midway days. Because yeah, most of the people at Raw Thrills Play Mechanics were Midway guys. I mean, I've talked with guys like George Petro who did Terminator 2. He worked on Mortal Kombat. Did something with NBA Jam. He worked on all sorts of games in the Midway days. And of course, Eugene Jarvis. I mean, he was there from the early '80s at Williams and through Bally Williams and Midway and all that stuff. So it would be interesting to see them go back to their roots and see what they do with one of their old ideas.
Yeah, it looks like cruising, but man, there's no way. There's no way you can tell. I mean, now I'm looking at. I've been looking at this whole time, and I don't think it is now. All right, we should move on. We
Well,
got so much stuff, not enough time. You know it is.
yeah. What was the other one I was gonna mention? Um,
Well, we got the Luigi's Mansion test. We have.
yeah, if you guys listening to the podcast didn't see that, check it out. It's on Arcade Heroes right now. Sean shot a 15-minute video of Luigi Mansion Arcade, which is developed by Capcom, possibly by Sega. Did you see anything there to indicate who brought that to the States?
No, it is an import version. It is
Right.
not. It is not local. I mean, it's all in Japanese. So, it said Capcom and some other like the pretty much the software tools that they use.
Right.
Um,
So just
some of that is captured in my video, but it was mostly Capcom all over the damn thing,
right.
and it was 2013 copyright on it. So
Right. Well, and the reason I bring up Sega is because earlier this year, when Capcom showed the game off in Japan, instead of showing it at Capcom's own booth, which they had, they went to Sega to show it off instead. And so, if it comes down to, I mean, Capcom does not have an arcade presence in the United States anymore.
no.
They closed that down back in about 2001, 2002, not long after Mars Matrix.
I really don't think that this is like a manufacturer test. I think it's Dave and Buster's just bought one from Japan and brought it over.
Well, there is a possibility that Sega could have something to do with this internationally. There was the news, which is more insider baseball news, that Sega Europe is now Sega International, and they are focusing on all developments outside of Japan, whereas some beforehand Japan was doing a few things in China, Australia, Malaysia, territories like that over there. But now everything's consolidated under the Sega International umbrella for anything outside of Japan. And I mean, who knows what they
yeah, I mean,
have in the works.
it could be. I mean, they maybe just gave it to Dave and Buster's since they're probably the largest buyer.
Right, and I mean, it is in Illinois there where you have Play It Amusements, which is Sega. So who knows?
Yeah, but they're not really. I mean, I don't know. I I think it mostly has something to do with because round one was 4 miles down the road, but
Sure.
with all that
Oh,
import
there's
stuff.
definitely some of that there, but again, wait. The only thing Sega's shown recently has been Showdown when it comes to video games. They haven't shown anything else, and that was a year ago this month. So if they do have something in the works, I mean, that would be a cheap way to get a new development is, just take what Capcom's done. But there's also the potential, who knows, of Mario and Sonic at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Don't have any confirmation or anything. We'll know for sure at IAPA whether or not Sega will have either one of these games there. But
Yeah, well, back to Luigi's Mansion. Like, I mean, if you've never played Luigi's Mansion before on GameCube, like,
mhm,
it's kind of. I guess there's instructions in the beginning that I was trying to. I'm playing the game through a viewfinder, by the way,
right.
and with one hand, and it's a 2-button game. So, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
you're saying it's not the best video in the
yeah, the portion of the video where the boss is being beaten is some other kid who was in there, and I was just sitting with him
Gotcha.
being a creeper, you know.
Right.
And, but yeah, I mean, it was once you know how to play it, it's actually I liked it, but I mean, I'm sick of the rail shooters, you know, like Jurassic Park and Terminator Salvation, where it's always the same thing: hit the circles, and then, I don't know. Those are great games. I'm not pooping on them, but it was different, you know, and I like different. So
Right. You're looking for something a little more skill based as opposed to
yeah, a
dumbed
game,
down.
an actual game, you know.
Right. Not a slightly interactive roller coaster ride, which, and to be fair, a lot of games these days have followed that pattern since that requires far less skill. I mean, that's essentially what Star Wars is kind of
Yeah.
a roller coaster ride that you
My
control.
wife played Mockstorm too, and she's like, "Oh, I thought I'd have more control over the plane." I'm like, well, welcome to the arcade, you know.
Yeah. Welcome to Arcades 2015.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So, in addition to that, I mean, there have been numerous developments. Read ArcadeHeroes.com for everything. You'll also see there's been a news of a few locations opening up out there. Location in London called Vegas London. There's been quite a few bar arcade stories popping up lately. Seems like the fad is picking up some steam. I don't know if that's thanks to stuff like Pixels, which I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I was very surprised by how my classics were boosted. Even though the movie flopped, I just had a lot more people playing classic games,
That's
kids
weird.
in particular. But for events coming up soon, the biggest arcade tournament in the world. I know certain people would probably like to say, well, that's the Kong off. Well, no, it's not. It's actually the Big Buck World Championships are happening I think it's 2 weeks from now. $75,000 worth of cash prizes. They have Sarah Spain from ESPN acting as the MC. They're going to be live streaming it as on Twitch as an esports event. Probably around 100 players or more, 100 competitors or more participating. And so, I mean, when it comes down to big money, big prizes, this will be the event
No,
to
wait,
watch.
is it a you have to show up event, or is it online or something, or what?
Well, I mean, you could show up to it. You can get passes for it. I know I could as press. I'm not sure what the general public thing is. It's being held at some large bar, I believe. I can't remember off the
So
top of my head which
how would
one,
how would
but
you get into it? I mean, like, is it you play on the machine, and then if you're a finalist, you go
well, for the
there, or?
past several months, I think since May, they were running the tournaments where if you would go and play on any Big Buck on HD machine online
Oh,
and
okay.
use your user profile, it created a cumulative score. And so by getting the highest cumulative score, so that would mean you'd have to play the game a lot, that would get you into a
Oh,
placement
that
so that you
sucks.
could come in. But they also, I believe, had somewhere it was based just purely on top score as
Okay.
well. I don't recall all of the rules and how they set it up exactly, but either way, it's been something where I haven't heard anybody complaining about getting into the event. Um, and they have a ladies tournament as well as just the general tournament. Um, but yeah, big cash prizes on the line, lots of media coverage for it. So
Cool.
it's going to be a big thing. And on beyond that, this Saturday I am actually going to be visiting something that was mentioned on the blog, but it's been mentioned on a lot of websites out there covering virtual reality. So there is a business here in Utah where they are creating something that I guess you could call it kind of like a holodeck from Star Trek,
Okay.
where they put a VR headset on you, but they have an environment that you walk through, and they have different scenarios. And so you go walking through the environment to play a game that they've specifically tailored for a physical environment. So when you actually reach out to touch things on a wall, I mean, there's a real wall in front of you and a control panel, which of course you'll see overlaid with graphics, but and sensors to track your body movements exactly. So all of that works together to make a very unique experience. So
Hmm.
I'll be
That
getting
sounds interesting.
a sneak preview with that with my friend Kevin Williams, friend and colleague. Kevin Williams, of course, is a name. If you've been reading Arcade Heroes for a long time, you should be familiar with him. He does the Stinger Report newsletter. He founded the DNA Association. He's a guy that when people want to find out about VR, they've gone to him. I know Valve flew him out here, and he did some sort of consulting work for them for their VR headset.
So
So
you're literally going to be like Nathan Barnett and tape a like Virtual Boy to your head and walk around. I mean, that's what I get.
essentially, I mean, if you just go online, go to YouTube, type in the
That
Void
sounds cool. I'm
VR,
just kidding.
and they have a preview video, and of course I'll see if it's really going to fit what the hype shows, because that of course is the problem with VR. in the past, in the 90s, when it was introduced into the arcade sector, was when Hollywood caught whiff of it, they created all these sorts of false narratives as to what VR really was like. Like if you watch the movie Hackers, it looks like you're literally going into the machine, or
Yeah, right.
Lawnmower Man or whatever. And when people got to try it, they realized, no, it's nothing like this. These graphics are horrible, and the experience was not as advertised. And so the Void, at
I
least
can imagine if that malfunctions though, like people could be walking into walls.
I mean, that's the thing. I had a guy in here a few weeks ago. He's like, "Where's your VR stuff? Why aren't you on the cutting edge or whatever?" And I had to crush his hopes and dreams a little bit, because, I mean, I understand the benefits of VR, but the problem is, I mean, at least when I've talked with VR acolytes, faithful, where they're sold on it 110%. They really overlook some of the issues that would lead to it becoming a commercial success, in this industry. In the amusement industry, you have to have somebody watching the person all the time. And so that's an additional cost. You have the cost of the equipment, where people are very rough with equipment in this industry. Even if they're being watched, you can have people, even maybe on accident, just if they fall over or something goes wrong, they get vertigo or whatever, and then it damages the equipment. So you have to come up with something that
Not to mention all the people's seizures.
Right.
Prone to epileptic seizures.
Yeah, I mean, not 100% of people may work with that. I mean, I've used different VR setups, and some are better than others. At IAPA last year, there was a company called Mediamation or Media Motion, forget what their exact name was. They had a VR headset where you sat down on a motion seat. I got so sick from that. It threw my brain off, and it did not like it. But I've used the Gear VR, and at the Comic-Con, there was these guys that were there just showing off VR. They had the Samsung Gear VR, which doesn't really have any controls to it, so they were mainly showing off VR films. And for VR films, it was actually kind of cool. I mean, I did like that experience. That was very interesting. But when you get into interactive VR, I mean, there's just, you have to tailor the experience, where you have to have a compelling game that people are going to want to play more than once. And then a lot of times you have to create specific, unique hardware to fit that as well, which may not work for every other game out there. And that makes it hard to have a generalized experience, because that's one issue with VR headsets, is just the headset itself. There's only so much you can do with that. You can look around, yes, and it moves the image with where you're looking, but for controlling an interactive experience, that's limited. So for you to be able to do more control and make it feel like you're in a virtual world, so to speak, you have to come up with things. And oftentimes in the arcade industry, it's been sitting down in something like a racing game. Because that restricts it to, well, you can feel the wheel, you can feel the pedals, you got that around there. But then VR doesn't really add a whole lot to a racing game, to be honest.
No, not really, but it would be a better start.
You're not looking at the sides when you're racing down a track at 500 miles an hour.
No, you'd be better off with like augmented reality in an arcade versus the full VR thing.
Right. But, there are some other concepts. I mean, what would have to happen is for VR to work in this industry, beyond overcoming some of the issues that occur with having the public put something on their face, and then, having people wanting to still wear something that maybe somebody that has poor hygiene just wore.
Right, there's that too.
Overcoming that, I mean, you have to get all these variables right. And that's one reason why Oculus still isn't out. I mean, it was announced a few years ago, and they got all this money from Facebook, but notice they're still not out.
I know somebody that's got one of those.
Well, they're developer kits, but I mean as the general public version that's supposed to come out. They haven't done the complete launch on that yet, and that's because they're still hammering out all the bugs of...
He's not a developer. I don't know.
What's that?
The guy that has one's not a developer.
Well, you don't have to be. If you wanted to pay the extra premium, you could say.
Yeah, they probably did.
And anybody could say that they're I had a friend who also knows zero about coding, and he got one as well. So yeah, that's not a restriction.
Oh, okay.
But either way, from what I've been told, Oculus, they were wanting to restrict it from being used in the commercial space, the amusement industry. So there are other companies out there which have been focusing on creating a commercial amusement industry version.
Okay.
But again, like I mentioned, there are variables.
I could see more of an augmented reality thing. I think that would work better. If you had a racing game where you sat in a cockpit, and you had
Right.
traditional controls, and then you
Right.
had the windows, but instead of spending all that money on monitors to surround you, you just had tagging for that to work.
Hmm.
That would
Hmm.
be actually more cost effective and more exciting. If it,
Right.
you know,
Or that, I mean, the thing is I believe I haven't really seen anybody do much with this, but with smartphones out there, you could come up with some sort of augmented reality interaction with arcade games using smartphones, and that wouldn't necessarily have to be the only control mechanism. You could do that just as something to enhance the attract mode, or just to enhance as a bonus to the overall arcade experience on top of what it already has. I mean, we have that to a very, very small degree with QR code scanning, but
right.
most people do not use those.
Oh no, they do not.
But not only that, I think part of the problem is even if you do use it, finding your score online and sharing it online is very difficult. The only I mean, Raw Thrills has it, but it's still very rudimentary. They really need to improve that if they want to make it interesting and really social. Um, but Sega, they also have a site, I think it's called segascores.com, which allows you to share scores from Transformers, Human Alliance, and Plants vs. Zombies: The Last Stand. But again, they like most companies in this industry, they all do a very terrible job at marketing their stuff,
Yeah.
wanting to rely on distributors to do that, whereas distributors generally don't do a very good job at marketing it either. So
No. All right. Well, I think we're gonna give her a whirl and get the hay out of here, huh?
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for sitting with us again for another hour. Hopefully, this has caught you up on any arcade news you've missed. And one of these days, we'll have to get another guest in here, help make it interesting, have an interview or something along those lines. And of
Yeah.
course, if there's any feedback, please feel free to send us good or bad, what you would
Yes.
like to see, or sorry, what you'd like to hear. If there's any specific interviews you'd like to get. Of course, I mean, there is something I could do at IAPA next month. I have done podcasts before from a trade show with Kevin Williams, so there is always that possibility. Maybe I could interview somebody there. So that could be interesting. Although I should mention up front my time at IAPA, I'm not going to be there the whole time. Got some personal things that I have to take care of where I maybe not, or I just can't spend the entire show there. But we'll still figure something out. So I'll close
All
up
right.
with my part, and then I'll let you finish us off. So again, website's arcadeheroes.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on G Plus or Google Plus, which nobody uses. And also TeePublic, you can get T-shirts. I uploaded a couple new T-shirts recently, so I am trying to come up with new ideas that fit into more newer games. So yeah, thank you for listening, and Sean, finish us up.
All right. Well, you can find us at allcastlegames.com, on Facebook at All Castle Games, and on Instagram at All Castle Games, and pretty much everywhere else at All Castle Games. So
There's nobody else with that name. That's good.
maybe on that Teespring thing too, but I don't know. Just buy a shirt, please. Just kidding. Okay. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Please, good or bad, just let us have any feedback. Just say, hey, I listened to it or whatever. Go ahead and post that on the Arcade Hero site. And until next time, Adam, I'll keep on trucking
Keep on
it.
trucking.
Little
All right.
little shout
All
out
right.
to Eastside Coin. So, all right. All right. All right.